Hi guys, welcome back to the next video in the series of creating this app in Python with Kivy. So I left off last time with we had sort of finished up the sign up method, and now I'm going to be working on a persistent sign in method and also just finish up a little bit on the sign up method. So we'll start with the persistent sign in. So basically anytime you load the app up, it should remember who you are. And remember the start of that we worked with last time, and that was this refresh token. Excuse me. So this refresh token basically sort of remembers your identity. And so I wrote the refresh token to just a simple text file. I completed that. Okay, so I wrote the refresh token to a text file. So now I need to, when I start up the app, everything that I had here before, all this logic, that was assuming pretty much that the user already existed. So I need to throw that into, I'll do a try except loop, and I'll do a try to read the refreshToken.txt file. And if it fails, if there's an exception, then I'll have them go to the sign up screen. But if I can read this token, that means that they've already signed up, and then I can go ahead and get all this database, and then I'll just go straight to the home screen. There's no reason to go to the sign up or login screen. Okay, so let's do that. So on start, we will try to read the file, the refresh token file. So with refreshToken.txt read as f, I'll say refresh token is f.read. All right, that's easy enough. And then with the refresh token, we're going to need to use refresh token to get a new ID token. So I'm going to have my Firebase module, this guy, have a function in there to do that. So I'll say self.myFirebase dot exchange refresh token, and then I'll send it my refresh token. And what I want this function to return to me will be an ID token. So I'll say ID token will be returned, and then also I'll have my local ID returned. Remember, the local ID is the unique identifier to my email password login, and I haven't saved that. I've only saved the refresh token. But when I send Firebase my refresh token, it can return both of these for me. Okay. And then if this all works, I will need to get the data for that user. I'll need to get and update the avatar image. Populate the avatar grid. That's separate. We'll put that up here. That doesn't have to do with logging in or signing up. And then let's put a little comment here. Try to read the persistent sign-in credentials refresh token. Okay, get and update the streak label. That's if I'm signed in, right? Get and update the friend ID label. That's if I'm signed in. I have to get the friend ID label. This is where I added all the workouts, so that only works if I'm signed in. Okay, so that's everything we need to do if we're signed in. And then, so if anything fails up here, it's because I'm not signed in. So I'll say accept, and then I'll just pass. I can just pass because right now, in my main KV file, it goes automatically to the login screen. So what I need to do actually is, in main.py, if I've loaded everything up, like if my user has already signed in, I don't need to go to the login screen anymore. So I'll do self.change screen, and I'll go to the home screen because everything will be loaded up. Okay, there we go. That logic should work. Now we need to actually write this function, exchange refresh token. So I'll go to my firebase.py, and I will create a new function. And it needs to take the refresh token that I'll be sending it from the text file. I guess I don't need this function sign in. That was too preemptive. All right, sip of coffee. Okay, I'm ready. So I have my refresh token. I'm going to need to do a post request to Firebase. So let's see here. Here's how I refresh my ID token. So this is my refresh URL. So this is where I'll be posting my data to. Secure token, Google APIs, whatever. That's from the docs. You can look it up, the Firebase docs. Then I have to send it my web API key. Don't forget, and I define that up at the start here. Remember, that's for your project. If you go over here in project settings, it's this web API key. So that's where you find that. Okay. So that's the URL, and then I need to get some data going. So what I have to send is grant type. So this is what I'm sending. I tell it the type of token that I'm sending, and I'm sending a refresh token. And then I'll say my refresh token is, and then I'll put in my actual refresh token. So let's do that. I'll copy that over. I'll paste it. Okay, so the payload that I'm sending to this URL, I basically just have to put in my refresh token. So I'll put refresh token here. So this refresh token will replace this %s, %string thing right there. All right. Now we need to post it. So we'll actually send the data. So I'll say refresh request is request.post, and then sending to the refresh URL, and the data that I'm sending is my refresh payload. All right. Now I will print refresh OK, and we'll just do a quick test to see if it works. Refresh.json. Okay, let's run and see how many errors I get, right? Okay, I got an error somewhere because it went to the login screen. So let me actually accept exception as E. Let's print what my error was. Okay, so I ran it again. Exit. That's no good. Okay, some debugging. Did I get there? I did not. Did I get here? I did. Okay, it doesn't like me trying to read my refresh token. What's wrong with that? Oh, whoops, I need to have open here. All right, that's a rookie mistake. I have to open the file first. That's what happens when you code on camera. Okay, let's try again. Refresh OK. So I opened my refresh file, and I called this code, and it went over here to this function, and everything went okay because refresh OK was true. And now, if I look at the data that I got back, user ID, so that's my local ID, okay? So remember when I called this function, I said I want to return my ID token and my local ID. So this user ID is my local ID. So I will return ID token local ID, and I have to define what those guys are. So local ID was refreshRec.json, and then it's this user ID variable. So I'll put it in there. Where's paste? There's paste. Okay, so that's my local ID. And then let's see, access token. Is that what I want? Let's see what the other keys are. Okay, access token is some long thing. ID token. That's the one I want. Oops. ID token. Hey, let me copy that. Okay, ID token is refreshRec.json ID token. Nice. So now I'm returning my ID token and my local ID. So pretty much what I've done here is I've refreshed my session. All right. And the local ID, remember, is the unique identifier for my person that'll let me read and write to my own data. And then ID token is how I authorize that I'm allowed to read and write to my own data. There we go. We have ID token and local ID. So now, when I get database data, so that line is pretty much saying, I want to get the data from my database, but you need to get it for yourself, right? So I have to authorize it properly. So basically, let's say I'm this guy. Okay, this is my unique identifier or my local ID. To read or write anything in here, which is what I'm trying to do, I need to send it my auth token, my ID token, and say, I am myself. So here's what I had before I was authorizing anything. And I'm no longer trying to get my friend ID. That was from before when I had this sort of setup. So I had them ordered by friend ID, but now I've got this unique identifier since I've got the sign up and sign in method working. So I need to send to this URL. Okay, so instead of friend ID, I'm going to put in my local ID, right? And then I have to authorize it and tell it that I am allowed to write to my own local ID. Okay, auth plus ID token. And actually, let me do it without the auth first, and you can see that I'll get permission denied. Okay, so print res okay, result dot okay, and then print result dot JSON. Okay, I'll print that and let's see what happens. Res okay, false. Even though my refresh went okay, I tried to get the data for this person and it didn't let me because permission denied. Remember, that's because in the last video, I set up these rules that said, if you're trying to read or write to a local ID, then you have to be, your ID token has to specify that that's your local ID. So since I didn't send it an authorization token, these both evaluated to false, so I was not allowed to read or write. So I can fix that by, like I had earlier, sending it this authorization, and then I'll give it my my ID token. Now let's try it. Ooh, look at that. So something changed, right? I went straight to the home screen. And res okay, true. So this worked now. I'm no longer permission denied because I sent it my ID token. And I said, hey, I'm myself, let me read my own data. Nice. And I printed the results, and I have my streak, workouts, friends, avatar. Okay. Oh, by the way, this streak, that needs to be initialized upon signing up. So up here in the last video, this is sort of like my default user. As soon as you sign up, this is your data. I'll just give you this man icon. You don't have any friends yet, and you don't have any workouts logged. So I need to add one more in there. So basically, get our default streak. All right. So I'll say streak, and that should be, let's put 0. Okay. So that works. Perfect. So now we have a persistent sign-in. So anytime your refresh token is there, it'll automatically sign you in. And if I, for example, if I take all that out and I try to run, I'm at the login screen. And then I can log in with whatever, right? So I'm signed up, boom. And I go to this screen. And now if I close this, my refresh token has been rewritten. So I've created a new user with a new refresh token. And if I try to run again, it'll take me automatically to my home screen because I've got that refresh token. And you saw right there that there was that little transition to get to the home screen upon sign up. I'll show it again. So run that transition. So I don't like that. And the reason why that's happening is in main.py, when I do the self.change screen to home screen. So it starts out by default at the login screen because in my main.kv file, login screen is the first screen in the screen manager. So what I can do is I'll change my screen and I'll just get rid of that transition animation. So you can change the transition animations whenever you're switching screens in your screen manager. And I'm just going to put no transition. So let me get the ID of my screen manager, which over in my main.kv file, I've called it screen manager. Handy, right? So I'll say self.root.ids screen manager let's see, I think it's transition. Okay. And now over here, so this is the Kivy documentation. All the transition animations are part of the screen manager class, or screen manager module, sorry. So I need to import this no transition animation. Alright, so here's where I import screen manager, so I can also import no transition, and then I'll also import card transition. I think that's the default one. So basically I'll set no transition if I'm going straight to the home screen, and then I'm going to set it back to the default, whatever it was, as soon as I finish that. So my screen manager's transition is no transition. That's a class, I think, so I need to instantiate it. And then as soon as I'm done, well, I'll leave it like this and we'll see what happens, okay? So I'll sign in. Instantly you saw I'm at the home screen. So that's what I wanted. But now because I set no transition, if I go to my settings screen, you don't see that nice kind of rolling transition. Change avatar. Okay, so that's not quite what I want. Excuse me. So I'll go back and I'll set this to a card transition afterwards. So you saw I instantly loaded the home screen, and now, bam, back to a nice transition. Okay, I think the last thing to do is actually set up the friend ID as part of the sign up method. So this guy right here, get friend ID. So I need to add a new field in here, which will be my friend ID. And I don't know what this is yet, okay? To know what that is, I need to do a get request on Firebase to get the next friend ID. And then I'll need to update Firebase's next friend ID field. So I've made that field right here, next friend ID. Okay, so I need to do a get request here. And I had put in some rules. I said, you're only allowed, so this is for the next friend ID field, you're only allowed to read or write if you have some sort of authorization. So as long as you're signed up or logged in, you can read or write there. All right, so to read it, I'm going to need to pass it my ID token. So let's go ahead and do that. So I'll say friend, friend get rec is request.get, and then I have to send to this URL, right? And I'm sending it my request to the my friend ID field .json. Then I have to pass it the authorization, because remember I said you're only allowed to read that if you're authorized in some sort, so if you're logged in. Okay, and now I'm just going to assume that that works. It might be a little bit dangerous. But I'll say friend ID is friend get rec.json, and then I'll be getting the well, actually, I'm not sure what that's going to look like. So let's print what it looks like. Okay. Let's see. Oh, whoops! This is only for a new user, right? So I'm gonna delete my refresh token here, and I'll run it again. Okay, some new user, whatever. Oops, I got an error. Uh-oh, that's not what I wanted. Oh, cool. Could not parse auth token. Okay, I must have sent it the wrong thing. Could not parse auth token. That's strange because it worked here. Oh, whoops. I have the parenthesis in the wrong place. Okay, try again. Okay, some new user. Sign up. All right, let's see what it printed. Friend. Error, permission denied. All right, let's look up here. I sent in my auth token. I'm trying to write to my friend ID. Oh, look, I put my friend ID, but it's supposed to be next friend ID. And the reason why it denied me permission to read or write to my friend ID is because my auth token, the ID of my auth token, does not equal my friend ID. It's that weird, it's like this type of junk. And remember, I've got this rule where anytime I try to write something in my database, if it's in this area, this column, I can't read or write from it unless the name of the field is the same as my auth token. So I just need to switch this to next friend ID right here. Okay, next friend ID, and let's try again. Oh, whoops, I'm going to be logged in. Okay, I have to take it out. All right, some person. Sign up. Okay, did it work? Friend. 2. Okay, nice. So it got that. Next friend ID 2. Perfect. So it looks like this guy is just an integer. When I convert him to JSON, he's just an integer. So I'll say my friend ID is friend get rec.json. Okay, so that's the friend ID for this person. And now when I'm setting up my sort of default, the base data for this person, my friend ID can now be, I'll throw them in here, %s, and then I'll replace that %s with my friend ID. So now when I sign a new user up, the friend ID should be that. All right, let's get rid of all these junk users that I have at the moment really quick. Actually, it's fine. It'll take too long. I'll run it, and I'll sign in as a new user, and let's see if it populates the myFriendID variable. Because right now, my friend ID is blank. So instead it should go to whatever this thing is. Okay, so we'll run some new person. And let's watch the database when I hit sign in. It should create a new field here. And then the friend ID in that field should be 2. Okay, here's my new field. We'll check it out. My friend ID 2, perfect. So I read this value and I put it in here. Actually, this is a string right now. I want that to be an integer. So I'll just remove the quotes here to keep it as an integer. All right, now I need to update the friend ID for the next user. So this has to be a patch request. So I'll be putting data. So instead of getting next friend ID, I'll be patching next friend ID. So I'll say friend patch request is request.patch. And I'll send it to this URL without specifying that field because that'll be part of my data package. Okay. .json. Then I have to give it my authorization again. Oops, won't make the same mistake. There we go. And now friend patch data should be, let's see, friend, next friend ID, there we go, next friend ID, and that should be, let's see, %s, and then replace the %s with string of my friend ID, because right now my friend ID, this was an integer. So I'll say my friend ID plus 1. All right, let's see if that worked. I'll go ahead and we'll know if it works. I don't have to print anything because in the database, this 2 should go to 3. All right, so let's get rid of this user, remove the refresh token, and we will sign up. Okay, some person. Let's watch it come in. Remember, this one should also have a friend ID of 2 because it hasn't changed, although it won't be a string like this one. Okay, sign up. My new user is down here. Let's check it out. My friend ID, that is 2. Oops, okay, this one didn't work. So something went wrong here. Oh, I didn't send it the data. I didn't send it the data. Okay, data. We'll break the line. Data equals friend patch data. There we go. Okay, we'll try again. Oops, I have to get rid of the refresh token. Man, I'm creating so many user accounts here. Oops, that's not going to work. Sign up. Okay, here's my new user. You saw it was green, and then you saw this next friend ID was orange. That means it had been updated. The green meant new field. So next friend ID is now 3. Perfect. So I'll create another one, and we'll see that the next friend ID for the next user is 3, and this will go to 4. So get rid of that. Okay, some new user. This guy should be friend ID of 3. Let's watch him populate the database. Boom, new user. This guy, right? Friend ID is 3. Next friend ID is 4. So I think I've set everything up how I need for the sign up and both refreshing the sign in. All right, that's the end of this video. Thanks, guys.